This is Hardy Brute, with another run of Noobs are coming. Last time we had an insane shotgun build. We ended up getting max cooldown while playing the polyfocus. We fired a ton of bullets very quickly. But today I'd like to do more of a challenge run. Play on the Monoculus, who gets 100% damage, 40% cooldown, but he gets only one weapon. He'll also unlock a boss we don't have yet. And for that weapon, I wanted to play with one of the upgraded, unique weapons, specifically the Wrecking Ball. It says unique and upgradable, so I imagine it might change in some way, tier to tier. This is our final difficulty 4 until we unlock difficulty 5. But originally I tried this run with the impact weapon. It launches you into the air, makes you slam down like a superhero landing, but it causes slow-mo to the game and the timer. So you're not actually invincible for as long as you think you are, and it made it very hard to survive. But let's get some cooldown. The way the Wrecking Ball works, it's got duration and it's got cooldown. The duration is how long you're inside the ball, but the cooldown is how often it'll spawn on the field. The trait gives us speed, damage, and less max life. But let's get the cooldown. We're up to 48 now. So our main goal is to actually survive. So we're going to want cooldown, duration, XP for extra stats, probably get some more HP, because we're going to get one shot at this point. And the weapon primarily scales off of strength. But eventually we're not going to be doing enough damage to clear the board. And we're going to be using the Wrecking Ball mainly to escape. So we just have to survive these small little windows between attacks. The Wrecking Ball also continues whatever direction you're going when you enter and touch it. So if you enter the ball from the left, the ball will continue that motion to the left. So the duration will help us right now, but the XP will help us in the long term. I'm also a sucker for XP, so I'm also going to take both of these. The ball is currently blue now, and it has not upgraded in any sort of way besides its tier. The base damage is 20, and the scaling is at 90%. I do believe it started at 80%. But when it stated upgradable, I assumed it was going to actually evolve or change. Maybe it'd start shooting lasers, it would become electrified. Something crazy was going to happen. But upgradable in this case just means that it automatically merges, because the weapon is already unique, and you can only have one of them. And we're down to 1 life. So close to losing it all. So with no evolution element, that just makes this challenge even harder. We got 2 max HP, so now we're at 9. I would like the regen or the cooldown. I think the cooldown's probably better for right now. 3 more max HP. So now we're up to 12. We started at 7, so we got some cushion now. And let's lock down the next HP. The ball is purple now. 25 base, 100% scaling, with no special abilities. So our damage has already reached its peak at only 54. It will increase if we get some strength, but not by a lot because it's a 1-for-1. So it's a decent attack right now with these small enemies. But as soon as we get to wave 6, wave 10, where the enemies have more than 100 HP, that's when we're going to be in danger. And this is a challenge not just to survive, but also because the amount of money we're going to get wave to wave is going to be very little. We only got 60 souls this time. So let's get a little bit more from selling. I would like anything that would help keep us alive longer. But 4 strength would be nice. And we're actually up to a damage of 62 now. I had actually forgotten about the 100% damage buff that the character comes with. But even then, instead of +1 damage per strength, we're only getting +2. So our damage could get up to maybe 150, but that's still not enough to one-shot Leroy Jenkins, or this knight here with the cross helm. But what I would like to see is to get enough duration, cooldown, that the board is just full of Wrecking Balls. Because at the end of your duration, if you're on top of one, you'll automatically pick one up. And it'd be really cool to just be perpetually invincible. but we're already at a cooldown of 54, and we can only go to around 70, so it might depend a lot on duration. Once again, we were a single hit away from dying. I really want the HP, but we kind of need the cooldown to stay alive. I'll take the unique. Dexterity doesn't help us at all. And these are all green. So I would like HP, cooldown for sure. HP regen. We can test to see if that works inside the ball now. If it does, that'll make duration really important. So let's get cheaper prices, more HP, and more XP. XP is really important for this run, mainly because we're also not getting any cash. So at least the free stats will be something we can take advantage of. But now that I think about it, the only way to get XP is when you pick up souls. So I'm not sure how much XP is actually going to help us in the long run. But it will give us some early levels, but it will give us some stats like cooldown, duration, HP regen, and strength, which are harder to find in the shop. So they're all things that we want. We currently have a damage of 62, and we're actually able to one-shot the dwarves and the archers, which is something I was very concerned about early on. But this type of run would be very, very easy on a lower difficulty. But difficulty 4 and 5, the enemies just have so much HP. I don't want to get rid of our cooldown. And +2 strength is pretty good. And it's actually 4 more damage. So let's get the XP and the regen. We only had 100 souls again, but 4% cooldown is very nice. We're getting closer and closer to the cap. And let's lock down the max HP. Losing speed doesn't actually affect us. It only affects us getting to the ball, and the ball seems to have a fixed speed. At any point, we could instantly lose, because these spearmen that charge at you, they do 6 damage. So they'll definitely 3-tap us. But we do have some health regen, and we just got the first hit. But I'm not sure if it works while we're inside. Alright, that time it definitely went up. So HP regen is our friend, as is max HP. But the biggest effect we can have on our weapon is cooldown, because its base is 8, but we're already almost cooldown capped. The duration is only 2 seconds, and it's probably the hardest stat in the game to increase. So I think the perpetual invincibility is a pipe dream. Now let's grab the XP. The lifesteal might be good, but we're already going into HP regen anyways. Let's get the double HP. Put us up to 23 total. Grab the XP. It'll hurt our HP regen, but we're lucky enough to buy some more. And let's continue to slow down the enemies. This is the second one we bought, and it's a limited item. So they're 12% slower. And that's mainly so we can dodge and weave around them. But this is when the game starts ramping up. We just 2-hit Leroy Jenkins, and he did not die. So they're just going to follow us around the entire map. They do 6 damage. They just hit us twice there. And we can only survive 4 hits. They're kind of like the Bizarro version of us, but instead of rolling towards friendship like what we're doing, they are definitely rolling towards us with only murder in their eyes. And while we do murder some people, it's all by accident. None of it's intentional. Otherwise that would make us a monster, right? But we're also having to 2-hit the red Sorks as well, so our damage is falling off. And we're still getting very poor income. And so let's get the green pickup and the soul attractor. Those two might help our income. Let's also get the HP. And the bigger room size would actually hurt us. But let's look down the last HP. And move on. But we didn't get all that much from that shop. We got a bit of attraction, a bit of pickup, and a very little bit amount of HP. And this should be the best way for income, so we'll have to see how it actually goes. But when they're all grouped up, we do pretty good. And we one-shot the majority of the units, the doors, but we don't one-shot Leroy Jenkins, or the charging spear guys. And the weapon spawn is really spread out, even though we have massive like 60% cooldown. I had hoped that we could go from weapon to weapon, kinda like what just happened. We got one and then rolled right into a second one, so the duration never ended, and we were invincible that entire time. But I don't think that's going to be fixed by getting a bit more duration or making the room smaller. And we've gotten about half the souls that we usually get on this map. Let's grab the strength, that'll actually be 8 damage for us. And the HP regen to keep us in it. Let's also get the HP and the XP. And I will lose some damage for even more HP because our damage is pretty terrible anyways. And the soul flask could be a way for us to actually make some money, because our income is also terrible. Double face mask is a decent item, but it would have cost all of our souls. So let's get HP regen and cooldown instead, giving us 63% cooldown. We now have 73 damage, a duration of 2, and a cooldown of 2.41. So the dream is sort of alive. I just don't know of any way to get duration other than level ups. And the only durations we found are common white ones, which only give us 5%. But that would still push the duration to 2.1, 2.2. So it's not nothing, but it's also not that great. So hopefully we can get some purple durations, because that would really push us over to the edge of possibly going infinite. And I don't think there's any way for us to kill the frogs, and probably no way for us to actually kill the boss either. But there are so many units spawning, it's making it very difficult to escape to our big balls. We would be in a very different situation if we got a bunch of levels, or if we got a bunch of souls for free. But we're so poor. We did manage to get 200 souls this wave though. But that also means we can't reroll very much, because these are all terrible, and I'm inclined to take the +2 strength, because at least that helps. Let's also increase the soul flask chance, and reduce the sale price, because I think the soul flask has already paid for itself. But we're spending most of our souls on rerolls, so let's get a free reroll. And these are all pretty bad, but the only thing I can afford is the speed, and that might help us. We've got a massive health regen though, of 11, a bit of speed, not a lot of life. Usually at this point in the game, we have 40-50 health, or a lot of damage. But we also don't have any armor, so everything's going to be doing 6s, 9s, 5s. But look how fast our health regen is. And that happens the entire time we're protected as well. But there's just an army of spearmen. And I do not like the archers. We had a double ball, and we almost had a triple ball. But the duration has to end perfectly on top of another ball in order to continue it. But even if we spawned a weapon for the same duration that were inside the ball, all the little pieces would have to align for us to line up right on top of it. So the size of the arena would also come into play, and at least help facilitate that. Let's definitely get cooldown. I think the cap is 70, so we're getting closer and closer. 2.1 second spawn time, 2 second duration. And so if we find a 5% duration, they will actually be even, and the dream will be alive. Let's also get the purple HP. I really love that trinket because it has no downsides. This run would be easier though if we had an older rich uncle. But I hope there isn't a limit on how many weapons can spawn on the arena at one time. Otherwise the things we've been pursuing with cooldown, even duration, would all be for naught. And that should be definitely something they change, if it's limited like that. Because weapons on the floor really don't clog the arena or take up space. They're not going to bog down your computer. Especially when you can have 40 to 50 turrets, lasers, or kickables happening all at the exact same time. And those didn't seem to bog down the computer either. But I have a feeling, for how high our cooldown is, and for how many weapons we see on the ground at one point, there should be quite a bit more. And so it feels like there is a limit, and they're not spawning every 2 seconds. We found an extra attack slot, which I don't think works on the character, and even if it does, we can't actually find any weapons in the shop, so it would be completely worthless for us. But let's increase the size, get some XP, and also get some pickup range. We didn't have a lot of souls to work with. But now our bowl should be a little bit bigger, and we're slowly accumulating HP. Our damage hasn't really changed, but it can't really change all that much anyways. And the big benefit of this character is that you start with 100% damage, but that also means any percentage of damage that we do find affects us slightly less than if we had no percentage at all. So it's a double-edged sword there. But any sort of mini-bosses like Leroy Jenkins, the little pixies that send out that wave of red, and the frogs, we can't really deal with any of those. And we constantly have to use our weapon for escape, rather than murder. So we're still trying to make some friends, but our soul count is terrible. And we're actually taking extra damage from the walls of red flowers, because our clear is almost non-existent. And we got very close to death right there at the end. We got a purple duration? That's perfect. And that should help us out a lot. But now that we know about the limit, I'm not sure duration and cooldown were the right play, but let's get the HP regen, going from 1 HP a second to 1.18. And let's select on the HP and the size as well. Our current size is 110, but the cooldown is 2.15, and the duration is 2.28. We've also done 130,000 damage, and killed 1,600 enemies. Which is usually useless stats, because usually those stats are spread across 6 to 8 weapons, and it's a lot less clear. But it's very interesting when you only have one weapon. Let's see how much you're actually doing. And I would not say this is a strong build by any means. But now we are fighting the sword hero. He creates flying, spinning swords that will follow and track you around the arena, and there's no way we're going to take that guy out. We did hit him once, but we only did about 10% damage. And in the next wave, we're going to fight the boss, and we're going to have a very similar experience with that guy. Hopefully it's a boss that will sort of leave us alone, but that we can kind of ignore, and just roll away from. This build is very fun, but I think this boss in general is very bad. So we could get the XP or the size. I think the size will be more fun. We could have also rolled for duration. Let's grab the HP, and we're out of cash. Wow, we're so poor. But I'm not sure the duration is going to help us anymore. At least fulfill our dream. This is also the worst boss that we could have had, because there's 3 different targets to roll away from. And we're not going to be able to take out any of them. There's still a benefit to getting duration though. It would give us another 1 more tick, probably a couple more health, of regen while inside the ball. But being perpetually invincible, which is what I wanted to happen, doesn't seem to be possible. Unless we're just incredibly lucky. And I mean like win the lottery multiple times in a row. Because I'm not sure I've seen more than 3 weapons, 3 balls, on the arena floor at one given time. So even though it'll spawn instantly while we're inside the ball, the chance that it's going to spawn right at the end of our duration is very, very low. And being inside the ball longer really isn't going to be affecting that at all. We took some big hits in that match. I don't want to lose the cooldown, even though I don't think the cooldown is helping us. We have a lot of built-in knockback. Let's get increased size. Let's get a bit more strength, but we lose size. I don't want to do that. Let's get some more HP. And we can only roll like 2 more times. We are just perpetually poor. So let's lock down the HP. Buy that next time with all of our souls. But Armor Punch is probably the best thing we can get. Gives us 4 armor and 2 damage. So we're up to 81 damage now, and a size of 136. But even if we had gone all into damage, I think our damage would still be terrible from the start. We really peaked around wave 4, when we stop getting the free damage for the purple. But we're giving up 5 other weapons for a damage increase of about 4 times for a single weapon. Because it's going to attack twice as fast with 50% cooldown, and it's going to do 100% more damage, so 2 times damage, with the other buff. And there's just no way those are going to equal out, no matter what you do. So I think at this point, this boss is kind of just terrible. The little ninjas that are following us are so fast, and they do 10 damage per hit. We would be in a lot of trouble if we didn't have regen. If we had gotten all damage, we would have definitely lost on this wave, because we took 30 to 40 damage just from the ninjas. Let's take the HP regen, going from 1.1 HP a second to 1.44, with 15 HP regen total. Let's also grab the max HP and get the damage. So now we're up to 84 damage. More HP, the enemies have more HP. I mean, might as well. We're trying just to stay alive at this point. Our max HP is currently 53, and it'll be 63 after we buy that next item. But we got an HP regen of almost 1.5, and a duration of almost 2.5. So we get quite a bit of HP while being invincible. The amount of rogues and clumped units is a bit concerning, especially since the rogues do 6 damage. But look how fast our HP regen is. It is pretty decent, but it could be better. Well, luckily there are some iframes, otherwise we just explode every single time we come out of our ball. But I definitely think they need to change this boss, or at the bare minimum, change how level up weapons work. Make them evolve, make them do something. Because this is pretty fun for a challenge build. But as a good build, this is definitely not it. But I think our approach had merit. The game just sort of blocked us for no reason. So let's get the max HP, and the 10 max HP as well. Puts us up to 66. We got one more roll, and now we're out of cash. It's a bit too late for the XP, but I will lock down the cooldown, just so we can cap it out, and go on to wave 18. We've got 2 more waves, and the final boss on wave 20. Which once again, I don't think we'll have a chance of destroying. But this is a pretty dangerous one. There's lots of projectiles, and our weapons spawn pretty far from one another. And even with our crazy HP regen, we only just barely hit max health. I thought we might slowly spiral, getting lower and lower till the end, because there's just so many things to dodge. And we don't have any armor to mitigate the damage. Ooh, we were so close to a third ball there again. With the impact skill, you could also go from one leap to the next, but because of the slow-mo, it also slowed down the timer and your health regen, so you weren't really benefiting all that much from going back to back, because there was still plenty of danger time. Let's get the max cooldown finally. Get the HP. A bit more damage. But these are kind of terrible. Our weapon is currently at 85 damage, with a cooldown max of 1.95 seconds. I didn't think the cooldown would actually get that low, with only 70%. But it was lower than I thought it was going to be. The game has also glitched out a little bit while playing this run. There's been a few freezes. You saw the level was really messed up in the start. I think it's mainly because there's so many things on the screen that are usually wiped out instantly. It's not so much that my computer was exploding, but I think there was an issue with the game itself. Creating too many things, that is usually just destroyed instantly. We got a huge smack there for 12 damage. The arrows are doing 7. And we're perpetually stuck at half health. So this is pretty dangerous. I don't think we're gonna die in the next 5 seconds. But if the game continued on much longer than this, we'd definitely lose. So this is the final shop, the final chest. let's take the armor. That actually is going to help us a lot. We're at max cooldown, so let's get the strength and the purple size. And we've got the most souls that we've ever gotten, 400. We could get the XP for the memes. But let's just roll for some damage, for some HP. Armor would probably help us the most. Because we have a lot of HP, we have a lot of regen. But mitigating it, that would be the best. We got like 3 rerolls out of there. So he slammed us for 6, but we're pretty much already healing from it. HP regen is a flat amount, and it has nothing to do with your max health. But I'm not 100% sure what the scaling actually is. Because it's not a 1-for-1 every time you increase it. But currently we have around 1.4, 1.5 HP a second. And we have a big health pool of 80 to protect ourselves. With this boss, there's also no way we're going to take him out. Because most of the time he's charging at us, while we're charging at him. So it becomes even harder to hit him. But beyond just hitting him, we don't do any damage to him. We got some huge smacks here back to back. 14 each? Come on, game. It is incredibly satisfying when you roll over all the enemies though. We ended that way with 200 souls. Our final weapon had 92 damage, 2.44 duration, 2.08 cooldown, but we did 300,000 damage and killed 900 enemies. We also unlocked Midas, a 10% chance to turn enemies into statues, but items and weapons cost 50% more. We can now play on difficulty level 5, which will help unlock most of the items for the final bosses. This challenge was a bit against us from the start, but I hope you enjoyed. So I'll see you later.